And I've been promising an interior video too, but you can see it come out freaking mint. I'm keeping the factory back seat in this thing, and even though that torque arm's going through there, I'm gonna make it work, which means I gotta chop this thing up, and this pivot point has got to change. So we'll do a little more chop. Okay, I drilled the seat back, welded these brackets, and I'm taking these off now so I can actually cut out this section. Clearing out the Camaro shelf / cabinet to see if this carpet fits the Beretta decent. If it does, I'm going to buy a Camaro carpet that is the color of the Beretta. Alright, it does look like a second-gen Camaro carpet will work for this. I'll call up Stock Interiors and get one of these made in the Beretta color with no heel pad or any of that crap. And I'll have them leave all the extra on, so I got to trim everything. I did that before with my other Beretta once. And I think that'll work decent. Okay, wanted to push shifter alignment back. And here's my temporary solution that may end up permanent as long as it works. Just a bunch of shit I had laying around. Well, that temporary solution was extra temporary because it was hitting on the console itself. So here's the next shot. Okay, now with these bolts cut down and then filed, it should work. I think these are Beretta intake manifold bolts, if I remember correctly. There, I got my length about perfect. So that should be totally fine now. The reason I had to move this back, I guess, is because the whole console came back. Now that I have a sheet metal trans tunnel, that brought this up a little bit, which meant it had to come back a little to still fit under the dash. Neutral. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reverse. Looks pretty freaking factory to me. Having already done the driver's seat a while back, made this passenger seat one a lot faster. Got the mounts made so I can bolt them in here, set this seat where it needs to be, and get these mounts welded into the car. I got to cut a big clearance spot in here like I did on the other side, and weld those two mounts in, drill a couple holes, and we'll have a passenger seat. Note to self, don't use the grinder if you care about the upholstery. I kind of have that same problem. I don't know if you can see it here, but I kind of got grind marks all over the glass. Seat mounts welded in. Now I just got to clean up or close up this little spot of floor here. And he's doing. Oh, this thing is so goddamn irritating. Still leaking water in here. This is like the 5th goddamn time I thought I fixed it. Somewhere in here that you can't get to worth a shit. So I think I got to pull the dash out and find out exactly where it's coming in from the inside, because I can't see. There's no way to see where it is with the dash in there. And I'm just trying to guess from the top side, and it ain't working. I'd hit it. Let's hope the sloppy POS just needed a sloppy fix. Tried some decent stuff. I used this Lexel. I tried that 3M urethane stuff first. None of that was working. So let's try this garbage. Back to some wiring again. What I found out was the speedometer and tach share a ground with a turn signal indicator. So I couldn't see anything wrong with the wiring, but I added another ground circuit in there anyway, another branch. And I've also got to pull these pedals out so I can swap it over. I've got it set up for a 7/8 for the rear, 3/4 for the front. I'm gonna take the 7/8 out, put the 3/4 in the rear, and put this 5/8 in the front. I'm also going to go to the body control module here and snip the wire for the friggin' automatic headlights. There, daytime running lights and automatic headlights disabled. So when I started this project, I had 3 AFCOs. I had 2 3/4 and a 7/8. Had to switch one of the 3/4 to a 7/8 for the spec clutch. And now I'm taking the 3/4, moving it to the back, taking the 7/8 out, and putting this 5/8 tilting in where the 3/4 was. The pedal was really high and hard, and it just didn't have enough oomph, I didn't feel like. So what this does is give me more pressure at the caliper for the same amount of input force on the pedal itself, at the cost of a little bit more travel, but there's plenty of travel left. Well, shit, these AFCO are 1/8 inch NPT, but this tilting is 3AN. So now I got to get a different adapter to go 90, because these are hard lines going in here, and I can't just run like a union and make it work that way. It's going to push this out and make things not work. It's already really tight with a dash in there. Okay, here we go now. There's my brake switch, and here is a clutch switch now, which has normally closed for cruise control and normally open, which I can use for a 2-step. Just fabbed some beautiful console mounts. Done and done. Now it's all good. Got the sound deadener stuff all in. Now it's time for that Camaro carpet. Finally, here's the part I've been waiting almost 2 weeks for. That should have been here in 2 days. And it turns out it's a T, not an elbow. So I got a plug for it too. But I can finally get the brakes done here and get the dash back in. This came out kind of terrible. This is carpet scraps from doing the floor carpet itself. And it just looked wrong with the factory color next to it. So I peeled the factory carpet off, threw these on here. Kind of looks terrible. But the color's better. Okay, the speedometer is freaking perfect. So I can do math. Cruise still ain't working even after I got the clutch switch and brake switch and everything set up. And I just tested all my leads here and everything is fine. So maybe it's the module itself. Okay, to swap another one out and try it, I got to pull the cowl and everything all apart because I got bolts and then nuts on the back side. Maybe I'll weld them in. But I had another one of these in my parts stash because I'm going to use it with a 3rd gen Camaro steering column to put cruise control on my Holley EFI Camaro. And if this does work, which I think it should, I got it redneck zip tied in there for now. If it does work, I'll take that thing apart and change it. Okay, the zip tied one didn't work either, but I just had an idea that maybe I'm an idiot for not thinking of before. But the end of this cable, like this one here, was way too long for throttle placement, and I'm thinking that maybe it was pulling this back, and this nub way out here just wasn't actually pulling on it. And there is some sort of like routine where if it's not seeing mile/hour gain at a steady rate of speed, it aborts it because it thinks it's not working. So what I did was I crimped on here. I had one of those really good crimps. It's like a Metro Pack style. Crimped it on both. Used a nut, 632 nut, because that's the smallest thing I had as far as like a washer would be. And I'm curious. I left some room so I could adjust this out if needed. And I'm thinking that might actually work now. Yeah, this is kind of an annoying job here. But we're getting her done so I can get this headliner done. Yeah, that don't look too bad now. I'm fairly happy with that. They're going to be falling on my head and tickling my friggin' hair. That's the main thing. 169. Nice. So I keep forgetting to talk about the speedometer and tach. The speedo I got fixed just when I added that ground wire in. That was a piece of cake. The tach was still all screwy. So 96 Berettas were the only year OBD2, and they have a 1 year only instrument cluster because it's driven by the PCM and not the ICM. And the rumor was it was a 4-cylinder. I tried the 4-cylinder settings in HP tuners. I also tried the V8 stuff. I tried doing it, it's the reference pulses high and low for the 24-time crank sensor. And none of that was coming out right. And I was talking with my buddy John, who's doing drag week here like next week, I think. The crank sensor, or the crank reluctor on these is a 7-time. They have a 24 and a 7-time. Apparently it's driven off the 7-time because when I put in 7 for the high and low pulses, my tach is perfect now. And assuming if you watch the LS Fest video, you know I broke the damn shifter off. That's problematic. And I got it looking OEM again with the factory knob. And the boot, you know, that looks like neutral, which is how we want it. I also did some ice blue LEDs here that kind of look teal. And I think we're going to do that with this one here too. This is printed, but if I engrave it and backlight it with an LED like I did with my last car, I can make that look pretty good. Oh, and if you got a Beretta and you have some HVAC knobs you want to donate, that'd be great. I also put LEDs under here that look fairly decent.